Hello, good morning. In the last 2-ish months, I have managed to build muscle and lose fat at the same time, or in other words, achieve body recomposition, as it is colloquially called. Body composition refers to the amount of essentially fat versus muscle on your body, and so body recomposition is changing both the amount of fat and muscle on your body at the same time. Usually decreasing fat, increasing muscle, while roughly maintaining the same weight. Essentially, you get leaner, you look leaner without the scale changing too much. Now, if I'm being honest, body recomposition was not something that I intentionally set out to do. It kind of just happened over the last 2 months. So I don't have before and after pictures. This was just a journey that I was on for me, and this was the lovely side effect. Does it make me a terrible YouTuber to not have before and after pictures for a process that I'm talking about? Maybe. Do I really care? No, because sometimes fitness journeys need to just be for you, not for the internet. So you're just gonna have to take my word that this happened to me, but I'm not lying to you. I got nothing to sell you. I'm just trying to educate you. So today I figured I would kind of walk you through what has changed, what I have been doing, etc. in order to accomplish this level of body recomposition. So let's go make a little fun functional morning beverage and we'll get right into it. And we have a fun functional morning beverage that actually supports body recomposition thanks to the Armor Colostrum that I added in. Everyone and their mother has been talking about Armor Colostrum lately, and I wanted to weigh in on this. I've been taking colostrum on and off for years now. I was taking pretty heavy doses when I was going through topical steroid withdrawal to help support my body, and I've kind of just been throwing it in here and there ever since. And I just want to say, the hype is legit. Colostrum is a 300 million year old whole food that is one of nature's most powerful creation. It's a bioactive food produced by all mammals found in milk. It is the first nutrition that we receive, and as such, it has to contain key nutrients that our bodies need to grow and thrive. So it's literally just like a whole food product that is exquisitely evolutionarily designed to support all aspects of our bodies. Armor is a premium bovine colostrum concentrate with over 400 different bioactive compounds in their purest, most bioactive forms, including a host of peptides, prebiotics, antibodies, antioxidants that function kind of as your body's blueprint, helping repair your mucosal lining in your gut and architecting cellular regeneration, which is just like a fountain of youth. I've started adding this back in because, as I told you guys, I've been on like a new phase of my skin healing journey. I'm in a really positive place about it. My skin has actually been doing so much better. And since I've added in Armor specifically, I have noticed an improvement in my skin texture and my skin glowiness. Armor Colostrum can help strengthen the skin barrier and promote elasticity through helping the body naturally generate more collagen. So that's kind of the main reason I've been using it, but it also can come in clutch if you are on a body recomposition journey, because it can also help with performance, endurance, increasing lean muscle mass, and accelerating recovery time and tissue repair. So all this means it's essentially going to be easier for you to build muscle, which if you are trying to body recomp it's really hard to do in the first place. Like really any help you can get is helpful. And on top of that, taking Armor Colostrum daily can help with your gut health. It can help improve bloating, help improve digestion, can help reduce sugar cravings, which can stem from gut issues. It can also help with hair thickness and strength. It can support your immune system. Basically, this little powerhouse does a lot because that's what it was inherently designed to do by evolution. And I just think that's so cool. Like, you guys know me, I love adaptogens, love my functional mushrooms, and it's so cool that those exist, but like, those weren't designed by nature to help humans specifically. Like, they do, and they do a great job, but like, this was literally designed by nature to literally support our bodies specifically in as many ways as possible, essentially. And Armor specifically is so good about how they produce their colostrum. I've talked in many videos before about how important the actual like processing process is of the ingredients that go into stuff. And this is just one ingredient, but like as a whole, really important how companies process their supplements to get them into the package. And Armor is the only colostrum brand to use cold chain biopotent pasteurization, which is a proprietary low heat process that helps make sure that all of the bioactive compounds in the colostrum stay bioavailable. If you were to use a high heat on this, that's gonna kill off a lot of the compounds, which is why it's so important to either, you can just straight up dry scoop this into your mouth, or add it to a cold beverage, not a hot beverage, because that in itself can kill off the good stuff that's in it. So just want to throw this out there that I do think the hype is real. I highly recommend checking out Armor Colostrum if you want to support your gut health and your digestion, support your immune system, support your skin and hair health, support body recomposition and your performance in the gym. Whatever it may be, Armor can probably help. Big shout out to Armor for sponsoring this video and letting me give you guys a discount. If you go to armor.com/fitandnerdy or use the code fitandnerdy at checkout, you will get yourself 15% off. I will leave the link down in the description box below. Go check it out. Side note, this combo of these 3 ingredients, so good. I've been mixing my colostrum into other stuff, but like, I think I'm just gonna do this like every day from now on. I mean, probably not, because I like to switch it up, but like, this will be a recurring mixture for me moving forward. Anywho, let me get comfy. Oh, this lighting is just gonna be terrible. That's fine. You guys can deal with my face having half a shadow on it. So, the big secret, the big elephant in the room, the big reason I was able to essentially lose fat and build muscle at the same time when this is a very difficult thing to do is that I was coming from a detrained state. Told you guys months ago now that I essentially stopped lifting. I was just in a space where it wasn't feeling good for my body anymore. And so I decided to listen to that and dabble in other things. And I probably spent, like, there was probably, I don't actually know the timeline off the top of my head, but I think it was at least 6 months of me like intentionally not really lifting, and probably a couple months before that I was like very much off and on before I realized that my body was being like, hey, let's chill out on this. So it was maybe like almost 9 months of me definitely not lifting consistently. Quite a lot of time to take off from the gym. I was not concerned about muscle loss, mostly because like if I lose a pound or 2 of muscle, don't really care. Like my ego and identity are not tied to a certain amount of muscle on my body, and I have more than enough to be healthy. A lot of you were very concerned that I was gonna lose all of my muscle, but like no, but I definitely lost some muscle. And then about 2 months ago-ish, again, would have to go back and check the timeline, but about 2 months ago, I ended up in a gym, picked up some weights, and I was like, ooh, that feels good. And then after that, I started lifting consistently again. I started lifting 3 days a week. And this is another reason that I was not afraid of losing muscle, is because when you have a background of resistance training, when you've built a certain amount of muscle and then you take some time off and lose some muscle, your body actually has muscle memory. And this is a phenomenon where previously trained muscle fibers regrow a lot more efficiently the second time or third time or fourth time or whatever. But basically, building muscle after you've lost it is a lot easier for your body to do than building it the first time. And this accelerated rate of muscle growth creates kind of the perfect environment for body recomposition, because not only am I building muscle faster than I would if I were doing it the first time, but also because my body is going through that muscle building process, that very energy expensive muscle building process, my metabolism is going to get boosted a lot more than it would the first time as well. And so that puts you in a perfect spot to like be building muscle, and your metabolism's kicked into high gear, and so it's going to be easier to lose fat. So unfortunately, what this means for any of you that have just been like locked in for years and like doing everything right, on point with your training, on point with your nutrition, on point with your recovery, like body recomposition is going to be very, very, very difficult for you, if not impossible, because you're going to be maximally adapted to the optimal situation already, and your body's runway for that adaptation is essentially much shorter. This is your training, this is where your body's at, and so the growth potential is here. But if you're like me and you've detrained, and now, you know, maybe your training is here because you're easing your way back into it, like the smart person that you are, and your body's here, you have a much bigger runway for adaptation. That said, like 98% of people are not as locked in as they think they are when it comes to their training, their nutrition, and their recovery. And so you probably aren't in that like top 2% of people that have everything just like super dialed in for years and have barely room for adaptation. Like there's probably room for change and growth. Recomposition, still gonna be very challenging if you've been like mostly dialed in, but I will share some more tips that are gonna help if you have not been like completely detrained. Like you don't have to have taken 9 months off from lifting to build a little muscle and burn a little fat. Breakfast, keeping it super simple today, just 4 poached eggs with some sun-dried tomato and sun-dried tomato pesto, because I actually need to get to the gym relatively soon. I would normally zhuzh this up with some like roasted veggies or quinoa or something else, but ain't got time today, so this is what we're doing. Also, my avocados are not ripe, so I could not add an avocado. It's a sad day for breakfast, although honestly this is delicious, so I'm not mad about it. But breakfast like this, 4 eggs, very protein forward, are what I believe has also very much helped me with recomping. When I started lifting again, I mean, I've always kind of prioritized protein, but I started just, you know, putting just a little bit of extra thought into the protein that I was consuming and the amount, and just making sure that every meal that I have has a good source of protein. And protein is really helpful for recomping in 2 ways. Number 1, it's helpful for building muscle, because protein, literally the building blocks of muscle. If you're not getting enough dietary protein, your body is not going to be able to build muscle, especially when you're not putting yourself in an intentional big enough calorie surplus that you normally would do if you were on like a bulk where you were just trying to build muscle, not trying to lose fat. And studies show that simply modulating protein intake and nothing else can directly affect body composition. So those of you who like might not be completely detrained but aren't completely dialed in on things, if you're not dialed in on protein, if you're not getting enough protein, doing that could help shift your body composition in some capacity. And then the other way that's really helpful for recomposition is that it is super satiating. And so that's gonna help you not end up eating in a calorie surplus, which would essentially just mean you are only going to build muscle and not going to be losing fat. Eating predominantly refined carbs, like having cereal for breakfast, is you're just shooting yourself in the foot if you're trying to build muscle and lose fat, because you're not getting those building blocks of muscle, and you're not filling yourself up, so you're probably gonna end up eating more calories than you would. You're spiking your blood sugar, it's gonna crash, you're gonna have more cravings, and so like, good luck not eating in a calorie surplus. So for me, by far the biggest factor in my body naturally recomping was just me starting to resistance train again. Lifting heavy is the key to recomping, because without it, you're not going to build muscle, or at least you're gonna have a really hard time building muscle unless you're starting from like literally nothing. So for me, my strategy going back into the gym was to start small, like as small as possible, again, to give myself the most runway for adaptation. For reference, the most I ever squatted was about 185. I went back into this squatting the bar, 45 pounds, like for reps. Like, I was treating that like my real workout, even though before I stopped lifting, that would have been lightweight. But since I hadn't been lifting, since I had lost a considerable amount of strength, it was enough to make me sore. It was enough to challenge my body. It was enough to elicit adaptation. And that's all you need. All you need is enough to elicit adaptation. You don't need to be doing the most physically possible. You just need to be doing enough. And if you do enough and don't try to do as much physically possible, then you have that whole runway between enough and physically possible to keep eliciting change as your body adapts. Because eventually I'm gonna get back to where I was, and it's gonna be so much harder to make progress because my body's never done more than that. So why would I start myself off in a place where it's gonna be so much harder to make progress, when instead I can just start light and just slowly work my way up and make progress doing that. And then within that, applying progressive overload, always super key. I have been making sure to increase either the weight or the reps by just a smidge every time, at least every time that I feel like I can do it. And this ensures that I'm continually adding just a smidge more of a challenge for my body to adapt to, so that my body keeps adapting. So for any of you that didn't take 9 months off, aren't completely detrained, something that you could potentially look into if you want to try to recomp is consistency and good programming. Like, both of those make a world of difference. If you're like, yeah, I lift 3 times a week, but in reality you're like maybe averaging 3 and sometimes it's 4, but most of the time it's 2, then like you might have enough in there to just, if you can be consistent 3 days a week, then that could be enough to kind of push your body to adapt in this way. And then with good programming, if you've just been going into the gym and kind of doing whatever every time, doing a different workout, you know, every time you go in, you pull up your favorite YouTuber who has a workout and you do their workout, but there's no actual programming in there, like, good workout programs are built to elicit that continuous adaptation. Bad workout programs are just a bunch of exercises thrown together with no actual strategy for the future, with no cohesion between like that workout and the next workout and your workout 4 weeks from then. Good workout programs are built around the ability to apply progressive overload. You can't really progressively overload very well and efficiently if you're doing different things every single time. If you're in need of a good workout program, I think my workout program, Brains and Gains, is pretty nifty. I put a lot of thought into every single exercise that's in there, so you can check that out at my website, MissFitAndNerdy.com. My dinner was a delicious bowl of a ton of turmeric rice cooked with ghee, some salmon, and a bunch of roasted veggies. It was delicata squash, sweet potato, broccoli, and cauliflower, and then I drizzled that with a bunch of glugs of teriyaki sauce from Primal Kitchen. And that brings me to my food intake, which I think is a question a lot of people have when it comes to recomping. For me, what this has looked like is kind of just being a little bit more aware of what I have been eating. When I started lifting again, I just started tuning in just a little bit more to what I was putting on my plate, mostly to make sure I was still eating enough, getting enough protein. Also, just with all of the various protocols and things that I've been trying to do with my skin, and paying attention to my food has also been important. So that kind of already had me honed in on my food intake. But I've kind of roughly been in the mindset of aiming for maintenance, just relatively eating intuitively, and then allowing myself to kind of cycle and fluctuate through days of eating a slight surplus and days of eating in a slight deficit. And I've just been doing that relatively intuitively. And so I've kind of just been fluctuating through a bit of a surplus, a bit of a deficit, but really just listening to my body. But I think going in and out of a surplus and a deficit has been helpful in, you know, having some days where I am more like anabolically active. My body is going to be more inclined to build muscle when I'm eating more, and then some days when I am in a calorie deficit, my body's gonna be more inclined to lose fat. So I do think cycling has been helpful for me in that process, but it's not necessarily what you have to do in order to recomp. It really is much more about protein intake and resistance training, and then eating like roughly at maintenance on average, if not just a little bit less than maintenance. But that also depends on where you're starting from. If you're starting from a detrained state, you don't need as many extra calories to build muscle, and you may be able to build muscle in a calorie deficit. I'm gonna be finishing off the night with some Hoo Kitchen Almond Crunch plus Coconut Flakes milk chocolate for dessert, as well as my giant mason jar full of dandelion tea and mint tea with honey and some electrolytes. I also had a whole big thing of coconut water earlier for the electrolytes. So honestly, that's kind of all I've been doing. Is I mostly just started lifting again after not lifting in a long time, and I built muscle and I lost fat. But if I wanted to be more proactive about recomping, because again, that wasn't really my goal. It just kind of started happening. If I wanted to be more proactive about it, there are three big things that I could be focusing on more. One of them I probably should focus on more, and that is recovery and sleep. Lately my sleep has not been great. I do think it's a side effect of some of the supplements that I've added in for my skin. The practitioner that I'm working with said that that could be the case. I need to stop taking them so close to bed. I should go take them as soon as I'm done filming this. But recovery, sleep quality, and quantity are gonna make a huge difference in this regard. Like, you really have to be pretty dialed in and optimized in order to be able to build muscle and burn fat at the same time. The body really doesn't like doing that in any appreciable capacity unless the conditions are pretty optimal. So this is a way that you could potentially dial things in further to get a little bit of body recomposition going on if your recovery and sleep are not on point. Second thing I could be doing if I wanted to see more progress is actually tracking my macros. I have not tracked in quite a while. I actually have no idea how much I'm eating on average. I don't know how much protein I'm getting in. Like, to be fair, I personally have tracked for so long that I could probably guesstimate relatively accurately. That would actually be really interesting to do. Maybe I should do a video where for a week I don't track, but I guess how much I'm eating and then I track it afterwards. It'd be hard to do that blind. I don't know. Let me know if you want me to figure it out, make that video. But you're almost always gonna get better progress with whatever fitness or aesthetic goal you're aiming for if you are actually tracking what you're doing. And that applies to your workouts as well, your macros, if you're tracking your sleep, tracking your energy, tracking your stress levels. Like, the more you track, the more data you have, and the better you can adjust things accordingly and make your progress just more efficient. And then lastly, I really could dial in my training a lot more to make a lot more efficient progress with muscle building and fat burning if I actually wanted to, because right now I am only training lower body. I'm not training upper body. I'm doing lower body 3 days a week, and then on my off days that aren't rest days, I do yoga. So I'm not like not using my upper body muscles, but as far as the type of training that's going to build muscle, only hitting my lower body. So I'm just like really missing out on potential opportunity. But again, body recomposition, not really my goal, hence why I don't have before and after pictures. So I'm not stressing about it. Like, I really like my current routine. I feel like I'm getting better at yoga. I'm getting stronger in the gym. I am rebuilding the muscle that I lost on my lower body. I'm happy with the amount of muscle that I have on my upper body. And so I'm making progress the way that I want to make progress, which is really all that matters. So yeah, that's how I'm recomping. Those are my tips. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you did like it, please give it a big thumbs up. It really does support me and my channel. I really genuinely appreciate it. Make sure you go check out Armra Colostrum. Again, that's armra.com/fitandnerdy, or use the code FitAndNerdy at checkout to get yourself 15% off your first order. I genuinely am like so excited to be working with them. Colostrum is, I'm a fan. Anyway, if you want to see more content from me all about health and fitness, you can check it out over here. To see future videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell so you get notified when I post a video, and I will see you very soon. Bye.